To talk more about the Green New Deal, let's bring in Amy Harder. She's an energy and climate reporter for Axios, and Caitlin Huey-Burns is a CBSN political reporter. Great to see you both. Amy, let me start with you. The legislation has not been revealed yet, but what can we expect from the Green New Deal?
You can expect a lot of the same sort of big policy pronouncements that we've seen from Representative Ocasio-Cortez during and after the campaign and after she got elected. So that includes things like a drastic move off fossil fuels to renewable energy. It includes a federal jobs guarantee for those working on the energy transition. And it might even include universal health care. The idea is to transform the economy in the name of fighting climate change. I think there's disagreements among the Democratic Party about how aggressive some of these goals should be, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be a drastic shift off fossil fuels, which continue to provide most of the electricity and other types of power here in the United States and around the world. So,
Caitlin, as Amy points out, though, it seems to be more of a sort of catch-all proposal rather than tangible policies. So what's the political strategy here?
Absolutely. And you're going to hear a lot of 2020 candidates embrace the overall intention of this resolution as we're expecting it to be, and eventually in terms of policy. So it's kind of how we've been talking about this Medicare for All proposal, that Democrats really like this idea of a Green New Deal, and it's something that they think sells well among their base because, as Amy mentioned, it touches on a wide variety of issues, from climate to jobs in the economy to equality and social justice reforms that they think are linked to the environment. So it's a way for them to kind of message on these issues. The key will be kind of whether and how they embrace specific policies. And I've been talking to activist groups today who are going to be keeping an eye on the lawmakers who are running for president, they're keeping track of whether they co-sponsor this bill to make it a big issue in 2020.
So Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Ed Markey are leading this charge. And Amy, I know you've been reporting on this. Why is it significant these two Democrats are the face of the deal?
They really represent what I described in our story about this last week, breaking the news, that it's the old guard and the new guard. Senator Markey, when he was in the House a decade ago, was the co-sponsor of the last big climate change legislation that Congress considered. That was called the Waxman-Markey. Congressman Waxman was the other lawmaker involved, authoring it, and that was an expansive market-based system called cap and trade, where companies can trade and sell permits in order to keep emissions down. That was a very different type of bill, but still getting at the same issue, which is reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And Ocasio-Cortez, of course, is a firebrand all unto herself, and she represents the new guard. And so it's a sign of the different parts of the Democratic Party, different parts of the progressive part of the party, I should emphasize, coming together.
So, Caitlin, you talked about activists already sort of keeping score here. The Green New Deal hasn't even been formally introduced yet, but how is this already impacting the 2020 race?
Oh, well, candidates are being asked whether they support this, and especially once the resolution actually comes out in writing, I think you're going to see that pressure applied to people like Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Kirsten Gillibrand. Those are just in the Senate. And so you're going to see, you know, I was outside Beto O'Rourke's interview with Oprah yesterday in Times Square, and there were members from a climate change group protesting him, urging him to, if he were to get into this race, explicitly endorse the Green New Deal, even though the policy has to be ironed out. And they were also pressuring him on taking money from oil and gas industry. So this is going to be an issue that is going to come up in debates. It's going to be talked about within the Democratic Party, and it might start to be kind of emerging as a litmus test for candidates.
That was going to be my question, Amy. Do you think that's going to be the case for people on the left, that this will in fact emerge as the litmus test?
When it comes to energy and climate issues, I do think it will be a litmus test. The irony is that there's few details. Even when the resolution comes out, I'm not expecting a ton of new legislative details. So it really will be whatever that candidate wants it to be. You know, we're already hearing that at some cases, saying that I support a type of Green New Deal. The phrase Green New Deal is incredibly catchy, and it's not new, by the way. It was mentioned a decade ago when Obama was just coming into office as well. So it's a catchy phrase. I think we won't really get into the meat of the policy until after the 2020 election. Of course, that's assuming only if a Democrat wins would that become a bigger policy issue.
All right, Amy Harder and Caitlin Huey-Burns, thanks to you both.